It's often said that regularly being in nature is an essential part of overall well-being. While that may be true, the desolate woodlands that skirt our homes and towns can hold some deeply disturbing and downright baffling secrets. From creepy mummies to space litter, and even a few things that defy explanation, strap in as I explore some strange and disturbing things found out in the woods. Number 10. Forest Sanatorium. In the early 1900s, doctors regularly opened hospitals in areas known for dry, fresh air. They hoped that these conditions would aid in treating tuberculosis, which was a serious and common threat at the time. In 1913, Dr. C.H. Dial purchased a parcel of land in the Ozarks of Missouri and erected a sanatorium. With a natural spring on site, Dr. Dial planned to treat all sorts of breathing ailments, especially the infected lungs of those suffering from tuberculosis. Unfortunately, he didn't factor in the difficult trek to Welch Spring, and unsurprisingly, those with lung diseases tend to struggle with exercise. With too few patients to sustain itself, the hospital soon closed in the 1940s, and the building grew increasingly decrepit from abandonment. Today, hikers are often startled to see the stark walls of the sanatorium, which emerge half buried in foliage from the depths of the forest. Like those who were treated or died there, the building is being infiltrated by outside forces which will eventually bring it to the ground. Number 9. Wessie. Everyone is familiar with Scotland's favorite cryptid Nessie. But have you heard of her American relative? The strange tale of Wessie, named after Westbrook, Maine, where she's reported to reside, began in June 2016. A hiker reported seeing an enormous snake with a head the size of a basketball while out in the woods. This was followed by several more reported sightings, and on August 20th, 2016, a 12-foot-long molted snakeskin was discovered near the PRESUMPSCOT River. Police issued a public warning after the skin was confirmed to belong to a colossal green anaconda. Only this snake species, the heaviest in the world, usually prefers the tropical marshes and swamps of South American rainforest. So what was she doing in chilly Maine? No one knows for sure, but some speculate that she may have been an escaped pet rather than some undiscovered species. Despite some efforts to seek her out, most Westbrook locals opted to leave her alone and wait for the cold winter temperatures to take care of the dangerous tropical snake. It seemed to work, as she's not been seen since. Number 8. CROATOAN. It may sound strange, but while discovering weird sights or objects in the woods can be scary, the most spine-chilling discoveries can relate to finding, well, nothing. In August of 1587, 115 men, women, and children arrived in the new colony of Roanoke. The lead of the expedition to the densely forested island, John White, soon returned to England for supplies for his new settlement. Unfortunately, his ship was ordered for use in the Anglo-Spanish War, so he couldn't return to Roanoke until 1590. Upon his eventual return, White was astounded to find the colony abandoned. The houses were dismantled, their storage trunks had been looted, and the colonists' boats were nowhere to be seen. The only clues found were the words CROATOAN and Crow hastily carved on a post and a tree respectively. Since then, historians have offered countless theories, but none have satisfied. While all agree that the word CROATOAN, which was the name of a nearby native tribe, is of utmost significance, its meaning in this context is hotly disputed. Did the message imply the settlers had been attacked by the nearby CROATOAN tribespeople? Did they suffer a plague or an attack from the Spanish, fleeing to the CROATOANs in hope of a solution? Or something else entirely? More than 400 years later, this unsolved mystery spanning from one man's shocking woodland discovery continues to haunt the North Carolina coastline. Number 7. Eye in the Sky. Ever get the feeling that you're being watched? Your hunch may be more reasonable than you'd think. In 1962, David McPherson found a refrigerator-sized object in the woods of Lutz Mountain, Canada, hanging from a rotting parachute caught in a tree. He and a friend hauled what became known as the Thing in the Woods home, much to the interest of the Canadian military, who soon confiscated the Thing. In 2017, declassified CIA documents revealed that the Thing was, of all things, an American spy camera. As it turned out, the camera was part of something called Project GENETRIX. This secret project was launched by President Eisenhower in 1955 at the height of Cold War tensions to secretly float balloon-mounted spy cameras over China and the then Soviet Union. And I thought selfie sticks were excessive. This particular camera seemingly went off course and crashed, only to leave a couple of Canadian hikers scratching their heads. While we may never know what it captured before it was retrieved by the military, take note, someone is always watching, even in the woods. Number 6. The Shape from Space. In 1980, something very strange happened at Rendlesham Forest, a 1,500-acre woodland tucked between 2 U.S. military bases in Suffolk, England. Just after midnight on 26 December, American soldiers stationed nearby were dispatched to investigate strange lights spotted in the forest. Mysterious lights are nothing new, but what happened next remains one of the most baffling mysteries of the 20th century. Radar indicated that the lights were being issued from a strange object in the sky above the forest, which was moving with seemingly impossible speed and agility. Of course, this raised security concerns for the base, and several groups were sent out. From one group, multiple accounts reported seeing a metallic triangular craft, 7 to 10 feet wide, land in the woods for a short time. When the craft took off again, it dazzled the soldiers with bright lights, at which point all the men lost consciousness. Another group watched the craft move above the tree line, issuing colorful, pulsating lights before breaking into 5 separate white objects and flying off rapidly. Unlike most UFO sightings, this incident received official reports and even an extensive inquiry headed by U.S. Senator James Exon, who didn't dispute the authenticity of the claims. Deputy Base Commander at Rendlesham, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Haught, kept thorough records on the events, describing the unusual lights in detail, and issued an official report to the UK Ministry of Defence. Now dubbed the British Roswell, visitors can hike to the Rendlesham Forest UFO location and see a replica of the craft from one of the most perplexing UFO cases of all time. Number 5. Russian Dolls. There's only one thing creepier than finding an abandoned doll in the woods: finding dozens of abandoned dolls in the woods. But that's precisely the case with the Russian baby doll house. In 2006, an unsuspecting hiker exploring the Russian countryside happened upon an abandoned house covered in creepy beheaded dolls. To make matters worse, they were accompanied by a half-rotted cow skull which glared down from atop a rickety fence. To this day, no one knows who's behind the macabre arrangement, or why they went to such lengths to decorate their ramshackle abode before abandoning it. But the mystery makes it all the more unnerving, as horrific imagined explanations fill the void of real answers. Number 4. Treetop Terror. Imagine walking through a majestic forest. The sun is shining through the trees, the air is crisp and fresh, and suddenly you feel something warm and wet dripping on your face. You wipe your hand across your face, only to find it covered in blood. Horrified, you look up and gasp at an unfathomable sight. A large deer carcass suspended high up in the trees above you. Sound like a scary campfire story? It's actually a surprisingly common tale with a shocking explanation. Mountain lions, panthers, and other large cats are known for taking their leftovers home, but they don't use doggy bags, nor do they have fridges. After killing a deer on the ground, they'll pull the carcass into the trees to keep it from being devoured by other animals. Their abilities to lift huge, heavy carcasses is a testament to their strength and dexterity, and is yet another reason to be afraid when you're out in the woods. If you stumble across such a scene, just know you're in dangerous territory. But I'd be more worried about, ending up like that deer rather than simply finding one. Number 3. Mummified Stowaway. Stucky the dog learned in an unusual way that nature really grows on you. Stucky was discovered by loggers working on a grove of trees in southern Georgia in the 1980s. Right in the middle of a chestnut oak tree they'd felled was a perfectly mummified dog. Experts speculate Stucky was chasing a squirrel when it made a dash up the hollow center of the tree trunk. The dog followed and found himself trapped, 30 feet off the ground. Soon afterwards he died, but his ready-made coffin had some unusual properties. For one thing, oak contains tannic acid, which absorbs moisture. The low moisture environment within the tree trunk not only prevented microbes from tucking into Stucky, it also dried out his skin, hardening and preserving it. This, as well as shelter from predators and the elements, allowed Stucky's truly stuck body to be effectively mummified over the course of 50 years or so. I don't know whether or not Stucky ever managed to catch his final meal, but I do know the loggers who found him certainly needed to catch their breath after the fright Stucky gave them. Number 2. Space Junk. For those who lived on ground level in the Russian forest ranges of the Altai Mountains during the space race of the 60s, things got a little messy. Literally. In the woodlands around PLESETSK COSMODROME, a spaceport in the Arhangelsk Oblast, Russia, fragments of short-lived missiles and rockets are constantly being found. It's not a new phenomenon. The techno-chunks have been appearing since the 60s, either from failed experiments or discarded fragments from successful ones. These space-age remnants are scattered in every direction for up to 300 miles, with an estimated 2,500 tons of space junk scattered across the region of the Altai Mountains. While undoubtedly fascinating, encountering a seemingly inexplicable crashed spacecraft or missile in the woods would be incredibly surreal and unsettling. Not to mention dangerous. On top of that, the description of debris plummeting to Earth is absolutely terrifying. Witnesses have recalled a deafening booming noise, a rumbling of the ground, and angry red lights blazing through the dark of night. Nevertheless, intrepid locals often harvest the space junk, recycling it into new projects or selling it for profit. Still, the idea of suddenly being crushed to death by Sputnik's younger brother while hiking is a scary one indeed. Before I reveal the strangest forest discovery, here's an honorable mention that wasn't quite creepy enough to make the cut, but is intriguing nonetheless. In the forests of Middlebury, Connecticut, there lies a little people's village, formed of meticulously detailed tiny houses. According to local legend, long ago a man went mad and built a village to house the fairy folk he believed occupied the forest. He feared that they'd murder him and his wife if he didn't, so he devoted his final days to the endeavor before succumbing to total insanity and later death. It makes for a fantastic urban legend, but in truth, the village is a set of props from the long-abandoned trolley ride at nearby Quasi Amusement Park. But if you ride the amusement park's teacup ride for long enough and ask them to speed it up, maybe you'll begin to see the fairies too. Number 1. The Australian Chupacabra? In 2016, a Reddit user posted this picture of a disturbing cross between an alien and a chupacabra, discovered by a friend during a hike in Australia. While the strange, evil-looking leathery bat dog initially seemed to defy explanation, internet experts soon swooped in. Careful analysis of the double thumbs, claws, teeth, and skull shape identified this creepy critter as a mummified koala. In the blazing hot Australian summer sun, it's possible that the corpse of the dead koala became too hot to facilitate maggots, flies, or microbes. Instead, the heat may have evaporated all moisture, allowing the body to dry out. Alternatively, a bushfire could have served a similar purpose. It turns out, creating a koala mummy isn't terribly difficult, and with an appearance like that, it's only a matter of time before we see one of these bad boys chasing frightened actors around on the silver screen. Somebody give Brendan Fraser a call. Which of these skin-crawling discoveries made you reconsider that weekend hike you'd planned? Have you made any of your own creepy finds in the dark depths of the woods? I'd love to hear them down in the comment section below. And who knows, I might even feature them in a future video. Thanks for watching.